Fourth grade lesson 7.4 is fractions and properties of addition. We have learned about some of the properties of addition, and we're going to use those to be shortcuts for us in this lesson. Our essential question is, how can you add fractions with like denominators using properties of addition? So we'll go back and review. We know the commutative property of addition states that when the order of two addends is changed, the sum stays the same. For example, 4 plus 5 is 9, right? But so is 5 plus 4. 5 plus 4 is 9, so the order doesn't matter. Keep that in mind. The other one we want to keep in mind for this lesson is the associative property of addition. That states when you group the addend, the grouping of the addends is changed, the sum still stays the same. For example, 5 plus 8 plus 4, they want us to do what's in the parentheses first. 5 plus 8 is 13. Add 4 more, 14, 15, 16, 17. Well, if your operations are all addition, you can regroup it to do the 8 plus 4 part first, gives you 12, and then add 5 more, and there you get 17 again. So you're getting the same amount, even though you've grouped them differently. And if it's addition, you're allowed to do that. If it's addition and you need to flip them around, great. If it's addition and you need to regroup them, no problem. You're going to be fine. So those are the things we're going to keep in mind as we get into having these multiple sorts of numbers that we need to do. So the map shows 4 lighthouses in the Florida Keys and their distance apart in miles. The Dry Tortugas Lighthouse is the farthest away, and the Alligator Reef Lighthouse is the farthest to the east. What is the distance from Dry Tortuga Lighthouse here to the Alligator Reef Lighthouse here? Traveling between the 4 lighthouses. So we would be adding this plus this, right? This plus this plus this. So we could use the properties to regroup, and here's what we're going to look out for. So we have 70 and 5/10, 43 and 6/10, and 34 and 5/10. Notice you have 5/10 and 5/10 there, and you know that 5 plus 5 is 10, right? So I want to put those next to each other, regroup these around, or put them in a different order so that I can have those two added together first. That's your whole goal, is moving them around so you can have the easier ones added together first. I know 5 plus 5 is 10. 10 out of 10 is going to be 1, and that's going to make this a little bit easier to do. So here's how I would write this. Okay, so I used the commutative property of addition. Remember that you can flip things around, and I flipped these two around, these two here. So I have 70 and 5/10 and 34 and 5/10 plus 43 and 6/10. So I flip those around. Commutative property of addition says I'm allowed to do that. It's not going to change my answer at the end. Now I'm going to group this using associative property and just say I want this to be added together first. So that's in parentheses now because we want those to go first. And after that's done, then I will do that amount. Now I know 5/10 plus 5/10 is going to equal 10/10, right? Well, what is 10 out of 10? If you have a pie and it's cut into 10 equal pieces and all 10 pieces are there, you still have one whole pie, right? It's all there. So really, I'm doing 70 plus 34 plus the 1 that those two make. That's why I put them together. I was able to see that they were going to build down to just one full. So I will add 70 plus 34 plus 1 to get 7, 8, 9, 10, 105. And that took my fraction out of the game. That made it nice, right? I still haven't done anything with this 43 and 6/10, but all I need to do, that's my only fraction now, so it's going to stay a fraction, and I just need to add the 105 whole pies plus the 43 whole pies to get the total whole pies, and that's going to be 148, and then I still have that 6/10 of the other one. So all we did here was we looked here and said, 5/10 and 5/10, that's going to go together to be one whole. So let me do those together first to make this all easy. And this lesson is just telling you, yeah, you're allowed to do that. Commutative property of addition says so. Associative property of addition says so. You're good to go. Okay, and it just takes some practice to see it. And after a while, when you see it, it all clicks into place. All my only operations are addition, so I can move these around however I wish. 1 and 1/3. And 2 and 2/3. I'm looking at 1/3 and I'm looking at 2/3, and 1 plus 2 is 3. That would be 3/3, right? So I really would like these next to each other. So I'm going to use the commutative property of addition and move that 3 2/3 next to the 1 1/3. So I just flipped these around, commutative property of addition. So we'll even put that because it told us to write down what it was. Commutative property of addition. Now we're going to group these together to add those first. So that would be the associative property of addition. We're regrouping which ones we want to do first. And we did this because we want the 1/3 added to the 2/3 for a total of 3/3. 1 plus 2 is 3. 3/3. A pie cut into 3 pieces, and I have all 3 pieces there. That's a whole pie. So I have 1 whole pie. That's another one. That's 2. And then 3, 4, 5. If you need to see this laid out, I will do that. We have 1 1/3 and 3 2/3. And if I add those together, 1 plus 2 is 3/3. And 1 plus 3 is 4. And then that's the same as 4 plus 1. 3 out of 3 is 1, right? And that gives me 5. At some point, if you can't already, you'd be able to do that in your head. But until then, just use that. But 2/3 plus 1/3 is 1. 2, 3, 4, 5. That's how we could get that. Oops, and then we're left with that 2 there. 5 plus 2 is 7. Okay, don't panic when you see this one. It looks like it's something very, very difficult, but when you look at it closer, they're just they're moving things around. So they say complete this till you get an answer and name the property that's used. So here we have 3 4/10 plus 5 2/10 plus 6/10. And here they wrote 5 2/10, which is this guy, plus 3 4/10, which is this guy. So who was left out? This one was. So we're going to write that there, 6/10. So at this point, all they did was we had 3 4/10 first, and now it's second, and we had 5 2/10 second, and now it's first. So they used the commutative property to move those around. Commutative property of addition. Okay, now they have the parentheses here saying we should do this first. But the reason, if you notice, the reason they wanted this 4 next to this 4/10 next to the 6/10 is 4 plus 6 is 10. 10/10 is a whole thing. So they did a first step of moving them near each other. And now they're going to say, okay, and aside from moving them near each other, let's regroup these parentheses so this addition is done first. And when we regroup things, that is the associative property of addition. And their reasoning for doing that is, okay, 4/10 plus 6/10 is 10/10. If I have all 10 of my 10 pieces, that's one whole. So these together make one whole pie, and I already have 3 whole pies there. So 3 with the 1 more that it made equals 4, and that really cleaned it up. And if you need to see it, for your brain to see it, do your brain the favor and write it out. Okay, 4 plus 6 is 10/10, and we had 3 whole already. Well, 10/10 is 1, and 3 plus 1 is 4. Okay, now all I have is the 5 whole pies, 2/10 of another, it's the only fraction in there, and 4 more whole pies. I'm going to add the whole pies together. 5 and 4 is 9 whole pies with 2/10 of another one left. It looked like a monster, but with practice, it really is just a little kitty cat. So take a look at this one real quick. Pause it if you need to see if you can figure out a way that you would join these or you would manipulate these to make them easier to add together. Maybe you notice that this 7 out of 8 put together with this 1 out of 8 would make 7 plus 1 is 8 out of 8. My goal is to get that one full. If I can get that one full, that just makes it easier to add these together. So I'm going to move these around using the commutative property of addition. I'm moving the 1 1/8 closer, and I'm moving the 3 2/8 to the end because I don't want to deal with him later. The associative property of addition says, let me do these first because that's why I move them next to each other, so I could do the 7 plus 1 is 8. If you need to see it, here it is. But you might be able to do this in your head. Now I'm not sure. 7 plus 1 is 8/8. And then we have the 2 plus 1 is 3. 8/8 is the same as 1 whole, right? You have a pie cut into 8 pieces, but all 8 pieces are still there, so you still have the whole pie, it's just cut. And so that whole thing equals 4. You might have been able to do that in your head, and here's how you would have done it. You would have said 7/8 and 1/8 put together is one whole. Then there's another one, that's 2, 3, 4, done, right? haven't done anything with the 3 and 2/8, but it's the only fraction there, so I'll be left with a 2/8, and then I add 4 whole pies and 3 whole pies together for 7. Oopsie, 7 whole pies. 7 and 2/8 is the answer to that one. Feel free to pause and try this one. I have 1 and 2/5 plus 1 whole plus 3/5. I'm looking at this 2 plus this 3 will equal 5 and give me 5/5. It's not always that your fractions are going to come out perfectly like that, but it sometimes does, and this lesson's just training your brain to see it if it's there. So in this lesson, you should see that it plays out that way, but it'll train your brain to see if it's there and use that shortcut. Okay, so I'm going to move this using the commutative property. I'm going to move these fractions around to benefit me. I'm in control here. Okay, and then the associative property, I'm grouping these so I can do this first. 2/5 plus 3/5 is 5/5, which is the same as 1 whole, plus this other 1 whole for a total of 2. If that didn't make sense, I'll put it visually for you because sometimes we need that until our brains adapt to it. 2 plus 3 is 5, plus we have the 1 whole that was already there. 5/5 is the same as 1, and 1 plus 1 is 2. Now I'm done with that, and all I'm left with is this, which is very easy for you. 2 plus 1 is 3. That's the answer to that one. Number 3, the answer to number 3 is 3. Okay, take a look at this one. Pause it if you need to. All right, I'm seeing a 3/6 here, 5/6 here, and a 3/6 here when I just look at the fractions, and that's it. And I know that 3 plus 3 is 6. So 6 out of 6 is going to be 1 whole, and that makes the addition of all of this easy. So I will use the commutative property of addition to move those close to each other so my brain knows and doesn't get confused about what it's going to do. Then I'm going to regroup the associative property of addition, regroup those so my brain knows, oh, let's do that first. 3/6 plus 3/6 is 6/6, which is the same as 1. Add 5 more, that's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I will do this visually for you. Oopsie, that's not what I wanted, 10. We'll do it over here, so if you need to see it, you can see it. 3 plus 3 is 6/6, and we still have the 5 plus 4 pies that didn't get cut up yet, and we have 6/6 is the same as 1 whole pie. If you have 6 slices, or if you have it, cut it into 6 pieces, but all 6 pieces are still there, that's 1. 9 plus 1 is 10. Okay, then we did this part, but we haven't done this yet. 10 pies plus 5 pies is 15 pies, with 5/6 of another 1 left, and there's your answer. Hopefully it's something you're starting to see more quickly each time, but each time we practice, you get further and further to making sense. Maybe you're not good at it yet. That's okay, but we practice and we get better and better each time. I have 1 and 1/4. I'm really just going to look at my fractions first. 1/4, 1/4, and 3/4. Ooh, well, this 3 plus 1 makes 4, and 4/4 would be a whole thing. So why don't I just put, these two are already next to each other, right? So I don't have to commutative property this, really. I'm just going to associative property change the first grouping. I'm allowed to because all of the operations are addition, and so it's okay. If there was a different operation, I'd have problems. Okay, 1/4 plus 3/4 is 4/4, which is 1 whole. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 is what that will total out to. In case your brain is not ready for that yet, 1/4 plus 3/4 is 4/4. And then I have the 1 whole and the 2 whole, which is 3. 4/4 is 1 whole thing, so 3 plus 1 is 4. That's how I got that. I had taken care of that, but hadn't done this yet. Now I have 1 whole and 4 whole for a total of 5, with 1/4 left. So always check your fractions to see if you can make some whole numbers easily. If you can, do it. If you can't, you'll learn new skills for how to do that later. I'll do 2 more with you, and then you are free to go on Think Central. All right, I'm looking at these. Feel free to pause it and try it without me to make sure you know how to do it. And I'm seeing 4/9, 2/9, and 5/9. 5 plus 4 is 9, so I can get 9/9 out of that. So I will do that there. I will move the 3 and 5/9 next to it, move the 1 and 2/9 to the end. Commutative property of addition, let me do that. Associative property of addition lets me regroup, so I do that first. 4/9 plus 5/9 is 9/9, which is 1. Then I have 2, 3, 4, and then 4 plus 12 is 16. If we need to see that, 4/9 plus 5/9 is 9/9, which is 1, and 12 plus 3 is 15, and 15 plus this one is 16. Then we have taken care of this, and we just need to do the last bit, add the 1 and 2/9. 16 plus 1 whole is 17 with the 2/9 left. Okay, final one, and then I think you're probably feeling ready to go. I hope you're feeling ready to go on Think Central. If not, you know I'm around to help you. 3/12 plus 1 and 8/12 plus 9/12. I'm focusing on my fractions, 9/12, 8/12, and 3/12. 9 plus 3, 9, 10, 11, 12 is 12. So I could get 12/12 out of that. I will use the commutative property of addition to move those next to each other. Move the 1 and 8/12 to the end. Associative property of addition to choose which one I do first. 9 plus 3 is 12 out of 12, which is 1, right? Plus 1 and 8/12. That's the same as 1 plus 1 and 8/12. 1 plus 1 is 2, and 8/12 is the answer to that one. I feel like you're probably ready to go on. I can practice more with you in class if you're not, but if you are ready, go ahead and get on Think Central. Good luck.